Yeah, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. So today we have our third session of understanding what integral life education, Sri Aurobindo and Mother, what they have given us, what it is all about. And I hope we have all, those of us who have not attended the live sessions, I'm hoping that we have at least gone through a bit of what we have covered uh, earlier. And today we will start from where we left. And I would actually like to recapitulate, because it would be nice, and especially this book that I have shared with all of you by Dr. Ramesh Bijlani. I think it's a very beautifully written, simple book where he has, translated in day-to-day language the words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And that's how it's easier to approach, the way he has written the book, the examples he has used, the beautiful examples. And I think this must almost become mandatory. The book is so beautiful that it should become mandatory for especially in education, colleges, etc., even for adults. I'm finding it very beneficial. So can we just recapitulate where we left last? And I would like to ask you if you remember. um, um, so we were talking about taking life as a journey. That's where we started, left at. So we were at the point that if life is a journey, there are three things that we need on the journey. Yeah, so can we just start to recapitulate from there, because there are a few new ones joining today, and it will be nice if there is a overlap. Yeah, so if anyone who attended or has heard the last session and who remembers what we were talking about, life as a journey, the journey of life, and what are the three components in that journey, whatever your reflections or memory tells you, so please share. It may be that we may not remember, that is also okay, but it would be nice if anyone comes up and shares. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible. There's problem with the mic though.
No, you are audible.
Yeah, so right. So we talked of life as a journey and ourselves as the driver, and the life itself and the situations and the people and the challenges as as the vehicle which takes us forward, and the way we use these situations and the way we choose to react to the situation, whether as a learning experience or go into that why me mode, that choice is ours. But each situation is providing us an opportunity to go further in our journey towards the destination. And what I really loved about the destination was that uh, each moment can be a destination, because finally we're looking for joy and some sort of you know um, fulfillment. And that fulfillment and that joy and that ecstasy can be only found in the moment. I mean, all my life have been hankering for a perfect future, when things will be perfect, when I'll be comfortable with myself, when all that I want, I don't even know what I want, but I would have that, and then life would be perfect. And I've been hankering to reach that destination. But now to know that the destination is here and now, and just to be aware of it makes the journey so much easier. It is just one moment, just one step, just one moment of awareness, and you've reached, at least for the moment. The next moment is another ball game altogether. Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Yasho, for recapitulating it, I think, absolutely nicely. And yes, and it is more to unravel. He shares further about the destination. So he says that, yes, it is happiness and joy, but then he shares more, and we will talk about that today. So you have said it that the life is this journey, the journey of life, And it's good to be clear that we are the drivers. So my physical, mental, emotional state has to be very fit. If it's not fit, then even if I have a BMW or a nice, vehicle, I will just smash it if I'm drunk. So that gives us power. That gives us power because it's in my hands, And then he shares that the vehicle may keep on changing. That I may want a job of a teacher, but somehow the circumstances are that I end up in a corporate life. Yeah. So that is the vehicle. I have not really much control over the vehicle. But if I know the destination is inner joy, progress, contentment, then even the vehicle that I have got, by making right choices, as you shared, I can make it into a beautiful journey. The problem with us, I found after reading this book, which is written very simply and clearly, that from a very young age, and also teenager years and adulthood, this thing is not clear to us. We think that the destination is MBA degree, we think that the destination is good money, we think that the destination a good relationship. So we end there, and then we suffer, because when I am not getting the good relationship or good money, or a good family life, or anything can happen, then I see that, oh my god, it's not happening, it's not happening. But when I know that this is not the destination, this is just the medium, this is the vehicle, and I can just use every obstacle of my life so that I move closer to the destination, which is inner joy. Even there are relationship obstacles, difficulties at workplace, all of that I can make it into an opportunity to make the right choices and move towards the destination. I think that gives us a lot of power in our hands. So let us start from there, and I would request that if there are any questions on the way, or in the middle, in between, or later, please keep on asking. Yeah. So yeah. So I think I had shared last time, given this example which Dr. Ramesh Bijlani shares, that imagine that I am in the market and my eyes fell on a dress. My eyes fall on a dress, and I'm attracted towards it. It attracts me, and I say that, oh my god, I want to buy it. But if I just go with my feeling that I want to buy it, then it will be an emotional decision. So he clearly, in integral education also, the parts are very clearly indicated: the mind, the intellect, reason, emotions, and the inner voice, the psychic being, which we will be discussing today. So here it is very clear that if I just go by emotions, I'm liking the dress, so let me buy it. It's a very emotional choice. And it is very known, we all know by our own experiences, that emotions are very unruly. It's hard to handle them, in the sense that they have a power. Emotions have a power. When a child is wanting something from you, and you are not giving him, yeah, and then he starts to cry. So this power of these emotions takes us, sways us, and we are pulled towards, okay, let me, succumb to the demand of the child or whatever. So here he says that imagine that I'm there to buy, I'm not just in the market, and then the eyes fell on this dress, and I am saying that, wow, lovely dress. But then reason comes into picture. Okay. And reason will say that, oh, but I needed to buy a laptop, and I must save the money for the right work, the laptop. Although dresses I have many, but I don't really need the dress, I need the laptop, so let me save the money for the laptop. That is reason or intellect, जिसको हम बात करते हैं. और फिर आ जाता है आपका inner voice. अब inner voice कैसे आती है? Now it will give me a certain happiness if I buy the dress. Okay. It will still give me a certain happiness if I don't buy the dress and I save for the laptop. But now I see that there is a person standing here who does not have any good clothes on his body, and he's eyeing the clothes, and he's a needy person and he wants the clothes. So then this inner voice comes when I see him, that okay, inner voice comes, but there are also other things happening, so reason is also interfering. So I'm thinking to myself, the inner voice says that, okay, you go and get this guy the dress, that is the most important right now. Now reason comes, Reason says that no, but you wanted to save the money for the laptop. And emotions may still come, but I have a wedding in my family in 2 months, and I will need the dress anyway. So this is how we are manipulated by reason, emotions, if we are not in tune with the inner voice. Yeah. And the thing is that this let me just read this. Actually, this will be nice. I'll just read a few lines from this thing, the book. Reason is a function of intellect. Intellect is a better tool than emotions. That we know, that people say that use your head, don't use your aggression, use your head, samajh ke karo. So he says that intellect is a better tool than emotions to make a choice. Function of intellect is to regulate feelings, just like we have a regulator for fans and all. So function of intellect is to regulate the feelings. But feelings can be so powerful that instead of the intellect regulating the feelings, feelings may exploit the intellect. Okay, so this we have seen, that instead of the intellect regulating, comes the comes emotions, the power of emotions in between, and then I begin to kind of give it a reason that nay, I have a wedding which is there, so it is a good reason that you should buy the dress. So I give reason, I support the emotion with the reason. And hence we cannot completely depend on reason also, because it is manipulated by emotions. Yeah. So feelings may compel the intellect to invent reasons for justifying the emotional choice. Yeah. And ye itni bariki se hota hai, this happens so subtly that we are not aware. It seems that I am very reasonable, but I don't even know that I'm actually using, just supporting the emotional part of me by reasoning, because I'm good at reasons. We don't get to know this. I've seen this with myself and many friends also, that it seems that what she's saying is very reasonable. It seems that it's the right way to go, but we don't realize, if we are not used to it, many years after we may realize that, oh my god, how manipulatively I supported the feelings with reason. Yeah. So he says reason is a versatile tool. It can look at the same issue from different angles. So that is the power of reason, a great strength. But this strength can become a weakness in decision making, because intellect can get exploited by the emotions and can easily find reasons for justifying the emotional choice. So the emotional choice is that I want to buy the dress. This is the emotional choice. And how am I justifying that? I have a wedding in 3 months, and let me buy the dress now. Yeah. And one would not even realize that it is an emotional choice when one is making the decision. Yeah. So now the question comes, that if emotions are unruly and they lead us astray, we fall on our nose again and again, should we kill them? Yeah. Should we become emotionless? And even reason is also not reliable. We have seen that we can manipulate reason. Emotions can manipulate reason. So is there any better tool then to make the right choices? This is what we are talking of. Yeah. Any question so far? Anything? Okay. So I'll just move ahead. So the question is that, should we kill emotions? What do you think? I'm sure we all have reflected upon it. Should we just kill emotions? If emotions can just lead us here and there, not making the truly right choices, and reason can be also manipulated. So what to do? Any suggestions? Yeah, Shweta, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is always the case. You're always in this, vicious cycle of, emotion, reasoning, feelings, and all. But very recently, I had read a book, Emotional Agility by Susan David. So she says that emotions are data, not directives. So if we use them as data and not like, always act on them. So I think then they can be useful because they are definitely pointing out to something in us. So it's just that they're not directing. Like if I'm angry right now, it's a data. I have to use it to, understand the root cause, not like just react and, just. So I think, yes, we should not kill emotions, but we should explore them and try to understand the root cause.
Beautiful. This is nice. Emotions are data, so we don't need to follow the dictates. We can just try to understand the data, which is available. Interesting. Yeah, no, not at all, not a problem, Shruti. So Birenji has shared, if we suppress or kill emotions, they will come back with a greater ferocity later on. Absolutely. A better approach might be to acknowledge the emotions. That's what I think Shweta just shared, that see that as a data and deal with it from a position of internal calmness. Yeah, which if is available, internal calmness, I think nothing like that. But at times one may just lose it. And okay, so let's go ahead and
Yeah,
see.
I feel just sitting down with your emotions, when you're feeling a certain way, either very sad or very angry or very upset, just sitting down with yourself leads to the root cause of, why these, emotions are coming and where are they leading. And when we just sit down, it helps us, to, take us in the right direction, acknowledging it and then letting it dissolve.
Hmm.
With time.
So
So I
being
really,
with the emotion, not trying to push it away, not trying to
yes,
act according to its dictates, but being with
yeah,
the emotion.
just being with it. Yeah.
Being with the emotion. Yes. Anything else on this? Anyone? Okay. So let's see what he says. He says, should we kill emotions? And those of us who have been in touch with Mother and Sri Aurobindo's philosophy a bit, they would know that Mother and Sri Aurobindo did not suggest that we should be killing emotions. They talk about training and refinement of emotions. Yeah. So let's see. If we kill emotions, then it will be just a very dry and colorless life. There would be no color, no beauty, no warmth in our life if we kill emotions. So that is definitely not the way. Also, any achievement, any progress, the leadership qualities, any want to do a passion, all these things are done with a life force. Now emotions are this life force. If I am not emotional, for example, about my kid, I would not take the pains to provide for my kid. So there are reasons why emotions are there. If I love, for example, people say love can make us move mountains. If I am actually loving a person, I would, in my emotion, I would actually go far, 80, 100 kilometers to meet the person. Yeah. So emotions are force. They have a life force with them. So no achievement, no hard work, no struggle, no overcoming of problems can happen if emotional force is not there. Yeah, if life force is not there. The courage comes from this vital or emotional part of us. Perseverance, to persist on the path, that also comes from this emotional side of us. The life force, vital. Mother and Sri Aurobindo call it vital. It is the essential part. Passionate involvement in anything comes from that part. So it is definitely clear that the killing of emotions is not the way to go. And Birenji also shared that then they will also come with the increased intensity. So is there any tool which is better than reason? That is what we are going to now touch. Is there any tool which is better than reason? Because reason can be manipulated. You cannot trust reason completely. Yeah. So now what happens, that I am, same example he continues with. He says that in the market, okay, you are in the dilemma. The child is there who needs the cloth. You are there, the laptop is there in the head. Now what to do? Now, if I make the choice that I buy the child the dress, then when I go back home or even there, he says that try to understand which is the greater happiness. Is happiness of buying my own laptop or buying my own dress or getting the dress for the child? Out of these, which is the greater happiness? Yeah. And also, if I do not follow the voice which said, get the cloth for the child, when I sleep towards the night, I would actually, that thing will come, like blink in my eyes, and I will feel guilty about it, that I could have actually helped that child, but I did not listen to my voice. Yeah. So I got the dress or whatever. So this guilt feeling will keep on coming. Yeah. If I do not listen to the soft voice that told me something else than reason or emotions. So he indicates, and mother has also indicated, that uneasiness, if you do not follow the inner guidance, you get this uneasiness in the being. And sometimes this uneasiness can continue for years until the deathbed. That, that moment, whenever that moment will get replayed in your head, you will say, oh my God, I knew what I had to do, but I did not follow it. So that uneasiness continues until the deathbed, he says many times. Yeah. He says the scene may replay in the mind for years. Every time you go over that scene, you feel uneasy. By not acting as per the inner voice. You not only feel guilty, you get recurrent uneasiness. So whenever you think about it, you're uneasy. Something is not right. Like a knot is formed in the chest, something like that. But if you buy the child the dress in this particular example, you not only feel happy, but you also get lasting mental peace. So this is another signal of listening to the voice of psychic, or the inner voice, or the voice of soul. That I get lasting peace, that I did the right thing in the right moment of time. So you are not going over the issue or the memory again and again and getting the uneasiness. In fact, you get a very joyful feeling when you go over the thing again. I would just share one example, and I'm sure many of us may have many examples here to share. Once we were, just a second, Birenji is saying, most of us create enough noise around us that drowns the inner voice. Absolutely. And we'll come to that. How can we minimize the noise? Yes, we'll talk about that, Birenji. Thank you for that. I think that's very important. So the inner voice is always there, but it's suppressed in the clamor of all that reason has to say, all that emotions have to say, all that demands and expectations. It is suppressed. Absolutely. Yeah, so one example, let me share here. Maybe I think it resonates here. And if you have any further examples, it would be nice to add on. I was in, I was outside India doing PhD, and we used to travel around in Europe. And one day we were in Vatican City, where this Pope lives, and beautiful Vatican Museum is there. And there we were three friends, and so there is an entry gate, and then you go around the whole museum, and then there is an exit gate. And the entry and exit gate are about 1.5 kilometers from each other. They are very far away from each other. And all that we have to do is walk. So you enter the gate, and again you have to enter. So you again walk to the entry gate. Now we were waiting for a friend at the entry gate. We already had completed the trip of the museum. And then there was a lady, older lady, elderly lady, and she said that she was from England, and she said that I have lost my husband. That days mobile were not very common, handies were not very common, mobile phones. And then she was very, kind of anxious. How would I find my husband? Because there are so many people, like thousands of people visiting that big place on, holidays. So then I asked her that, what is he wearing? And she completely detailed me that he's wearing a hat and blue colored shirt, half sleeves, and trousers, or half pants. And then I said, okay, if I have a look, and then I'll let you know, I'll let him know that you are waiting at the main gate. Now it is almost, if you actually bring reason in here, reason would say that it's madness that you will find amongst thousands people scattered everywhere, you'll find that one person that you are looking for. It's crazy. The reason would not go there. But somehow I felt a voice within, just a knowing that I will find the person, right? And now I have no idea how I would find the person, but there was a knowing that I have to look and I will find the person. So I'm going inside the museum again, taking a tour, and everywhere my eye is looking for the description that she's given. And then we again, nothing found. We reach the end of the Vatican Museum, or the area, and there's a huge courtyard towards the end of the museum. And that courtyard, the huge place, is full of countless number of people, you know, I cannot count them actually if I start to count. And there my eyes are just scanning, like left to right, right to left. I'm just scanning because I just know that I have to find him. I know that I will find him. There is a knowing that tells me that I have to find him and it will be done. And then there, you know, with my little eyes, because my eyes are not that sharp, and I'm like just looking at it, and it looks like he's that person because he's standing, he looks like he's waiting, and the shirt is blue, the pant is half, and the cap is also there. And then I tell my friend that, you know, just wait here, I have to go to that fellow, and I just would like to ask if he's waiting for his wife. And I go to him and I find that it is the right person that we have been looking for. Not we, actually, I was only looking for him. And then I told him that your wife is waiting at the main gate. Now that situation has been replayed in my memory, just, you know, like we were talking about this replaying again and again. And it has given me always a joy and also like mystery, because how was I so sure that I would find that fellow? Yeah. And again, many more examples like that. So this is the function of the higher knowing, the deeper knowing, which knows more than our little mind, more than our little emotions and our little limited views of perception. Yeah. So I would actually be very happy if anyone would like to share anything like that or something else where you were able to, yes, you can actually call it sixth sense. You were able to listen to some deeper voice, and then later on, you know, you could recall that something beautiful happened. Yeah. Yeah, Deepthi, we will touch upon this aspect very soon. Thank you for putting it here. Yeah. Yes, yes, Shruti. So anything that anyone would like to share at this moment, just to kind of, you know, put examples onto it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have any particular example,
Yeah.
but like looking back, I just feel that it was always the deeper voice, the higher voice, and I always called it my heart. So it's like for me, it was always like mind ka suno ya heart ka suno, and always like mind ka sun ke kiya, like like others and all. I've tried like okay, this and this validation and all that, but it never settles you. And as soon as I listen to my heart, I feel this bliss, and like this is home. I feel home, so yeah, that I've always felt like, but I always called it like living heartfully. So that was my
Actually, you
definition.
know, Shweta, it is actually the wisdom of the heart, which, you know, Buddhist teachings would say. It's actually the deeper heart. Absolutely. Yeah.
I can share
Yes, yes.
that book maybe the late one of the things that is struck me.
श्रुति, आपकी आवाज ना क्लियर नहीं है. आवाज अगर थोड़ी क्लियर कर पाओ तो.
Okay, just give me 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Much, much, much better. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So it's right on my mind because I was just sharing. My friend was over, so I was sharing about it. Not getting into the details. So this is one of the months where browsing through the Facebook, like we do, in a sense, there are so many times news and feeds and I happen to go. And I just found this person on Facebook, and it was not a logic. I mean, if I look for logic, I won't be able to give it, but something about that person really attracted, and that person is like a famous person into a lot of things, not famous as for everybody to know. And somehow I started to follow, and when I would read that person's blog, there were a lot of things I liked, and there's a part of me which nudged me to get connected to that person, just try and connect. And I was like, what nonsense, what is this? I don't want to. But it just kept growing. Within a week, the nudge started to be so strong that even once at night, I literally felt that somebody literally told me to get in touch with that person, because for some, like as if some solution I would get from there. And I was like, okay, now is something my sixth sense is telling me, and I'm, it's something I must not ignore. And for that reason, I got in touch. And then how I got a solution, like a major, like I said, not getting into the details. It's like something about your life, like a major key getting to a lock in your life. And there was a knowing that, I mean, of course, the fact that, somewhere I knew that if I am getting this sixth sense, it's right. But I was looking for logical reasons, like why unnecessarily, it's okay and stuff like that. But this happens so many times. And this is where I was like, thank God I got in touch with that person. Like such a big door open in my life. So yeah, so many examples. I thought this I'll share.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much. So we see that the voice is continuously there, this deeper knowing that I feel this is right. I don't know, I cannot give many reasons to it, maybe at the moment, but I know this is right way to go. I know this is the right way to go. So this is what is the inner voice. Yeah. And this is very subtle, very subtle, because mostly what we recognize as inner voice is always the clamor of the mind, or maybe the feelings, the emotions playing on us. Yeah. So it's very subtle. And that is what integral education is about. It's about aligning ourselves, aligning the mind, aligning the emotions and the actions as per the dictates, not of intellect or of emotions, but of the inner voice. Now it requires us to be very sensitive, but it also has many byproducts, which are happy byproducts. Yeah. So let us take them further, and please keep sharing if there is anything. Yeah. So this voice, he says, this voice is the voice of divine essence. When we say that hum sab mein Paramatma ka ansh hai, we call soul. So he says that psychic being or psychic individuality is the spokesperson of soul or the divine essence. तो वो जो परमात्मा का अंश है, वो बोलता किसके थ्रू है? साइकिक बीइंग के थ्रू. वो बात किसके थ्रू करता है? ये नोइंग के थ्रू, दिस डीप नोइंग दैट आई न्यू दैट आई हैड टू डू दैट. या इसके थ्रू वो बात करता है. So imagine that there is the soul, and around it is the psychic being, which is the spokesperson of the soul, which is communicating to the instruments, which are the mind, emotions, and actions. Yeah. So the voice of divine essence or the soul, or what we can call our deeper self or the higher self, psychic being is the dynamic aspect of the soul. There is one aspect of the soul जिसको हम कहते हैं साक्षी भाव. It always observes. It always keeps on witnessing. Yeah. Even when we are sleeping, there is there's something in us who is witnessing. Yeah. So this sakshi bhav never sleeps. Okay. And this is the static part of the soul. Then there is the dynamic part of the soul, which is the psychic being, which communicates, which tells us what is happening. So the soul has a dynamic aspect, psychic being, which participates in our life situations. And that is what evolves over lifetimes. You may have seen there are people, even a child aged 15, 16, or maybe younger, he feels very mature within himself. He does not feel that age. Why is that so? Because the psychic individuality has been growing and developing over lifetimes, and now it has ripened. It is mature, to kind of put it forward. So he feels very mature within himself. This happens with many of us, that we do not feel the age that we are. We feel much ripened, much mature. And this is the reason why this happens. Yeah. So psychic being is more reliable than reason. Okay, so this inner guidance is more reliable than reason or emotions. And Deepti, your question will be touched upon, so yeah. Without going into reason and arguments, psychic being tells us in an instant what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. It acts with a remarkable speed. Reason को क्या चाहिए? Reason को एनालाइज करना है, रीजन को थोड़ा चार्ट बना के करना है, ओके टिक मार्क क्रॉस क्रॉस क्रॉस, एंड देन इट अराइव्स टू अ डिसीजन. ओके, दिस इज अ लॉजिकल डिसीजन. But psychic being knows, it just knows that what is the right decision. Now reason may support it later, the choice of the psychic, but that is something that happens later. Yeah, so it acts with a remarkable speed, very clear guidance, clear voice, gives a definitive verdict. Somewhere deep within we know that this verdict leaves no room for doubts or any questions, since it is in direct touch with the divine, which knows all. So as we were sharing that our perceptions are limited, our knowing is limited, mind is limited, it cannot know the larger picture. But since the psychic knows, it is in direct touch with the divine, that's why it tells us the right choice to make. It has the larger vision, which the mind does not have, which the emotions don't have. Yeah. And once we have heard the psychic voice, the inner voice, we can always find reasons to justify the voice. Yeah. So that comes later. I think we'll come to that very soon. So this voice of psychic, the qualities are, it's a very shy voice. Yeah. It's more like a knowing. I know, I have to do this. Faint voice, clarity, no room for doubt, non-assertive. Birenji was sharing that there is so much of noise going on. So how to reach the psychic voice? So it is a very non-assertive voice. It would tell what is to be done. Like mother would say that I tell people what is to be done, but I don't force them. So psychic voice is also like that. It tells, it communicates, but following, not following is my free will. There comes the free will. Yeah, because the whole existence is based on a free will. Love grows together with the freedom. So if the whole existence is based on love, divine love, how can it be that we make rules which are rigid and don't give us freedom? So the divine has made all the existence on love, and he has also given so much of freedom. So free will is there. So surrender bhi karna hai, so at each moment I am free, whether I want to surrender to the divine or not yet. It's my free will. Yeah. So, and it is very content to be ignored. Unfortunately, it should not be content, but somehow the play is like that it is very happy to be ignored. It does not say, oh my God, why did you not follow my, what I was saying? So that would not come from the psychic. It very content to be ignored, again based on free will. Yeah, while the voices of emotional and intellectual parts are very noisy. So last part about this is that if we do not follow the psychic voice, then we feel guilty of not taking the right action, which I knew should have been taken. Then I feel recurrent uneasiness if I replay the instant in my head again and again. And sometimes it can go on for years that I feel uneasy, that I did not follow the dictate of the psychic. Yeah, so now comes Birenji's question, that there is so much of noise. How to hear what truly is to be done? So any reflections on that from your own practical experiences? Emotions are saying something else, the reason says something else. Yeah, what I desire, what again in the emotional being, desiring being, that is something else, but it does not appear right. So how to actually quieten the noise and to know what is to be done? If there are any practical examples, it would be nice. Yeah, Birenji, would you like to share?
So I have two examples of an inner voice like this. Okay, I don't get it frequently. Maybe there's too much turbulence in my mind which does not allow it to come. But there were two moments I recall that it happened. One was many years back when we were actually planning to have a second kid, and there was a soft voice that said, "Don't have it. This kid will suffer a lot during the teenage years." And I actually conveyed it to my wife that this happened. But then, for whatever reason, we didn't believe it at that time, or we chose to have a second child. And my daughter really suffered in the teenage years. Okay, so So this was my first such thing. The other one happened when we recently went on a Char Dham Yatra around in 2018. We went, at a very quiet time. We actually went during the short times when nobody goes there. So when we were in Yamunotri, and I was actually, right in front of the goddess there. That time, there was a very soft voice, and there was nobody in between. Not even the pujari was between me and the goddess. We were directly in front of each other, and there was no crowd, so nobody was telling us "Hat jao," nothing of that sort was happening. So that time there was a very soft voice that said, the purpose of your life is to chant God's name. And it said specifically, and this is where the strangeness of that sound came. It said specifically chant Om Namah Shivaya. Now we are people who believe, we are Vaishnavas, we believe in Krishna. I have never worshipped, I would have worshipped Shivji, but not, every function, everything is around Krishna and Ganpati in our house. And this voice said, chant Om Namah Shivaya. I was very perplexed how it came and how it came. But I didn't question it, but it was very clear in what it said to me. So, of course, now I've started all that, but I can recall that, I don't know how it happened, and it just happened. That's all. So, whatever in both the cases, I'm just relating to what you said. It was clear, it was direct, it was soft, it didn't assert itself, and the message was very unambiguous. That's all. If you choose to have a second child, the child will suffer in teenage years, which happened. This also, this is your purpose. This is the mantra you have to chant. It was very clear on both also. So I can't explain it. There's no words. I can't explain it. That's all.
We cannot explain it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing those experiences. Yeah. 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 Anyone else wants to share at this?
Like the question was, I think, when you go through emotions and mental highs and lows, so how do you settle down to understand your psychic being? uh, what I feel is that yes, those episodes happen, and but just being aware has helped me, because uh, कैसा फील हो रहा है माइंड में बॉडी में सब जगह, like like it's so much of pain and noise, so much noise, and it's like you can be with it till you want to be with it, like that is very happy to that energy or whatever, like your emotions and your mental fights, it just latches onto you as soon as you show some I feel वाइब्रेशन का थोड़ा वो हो जाता है कि आप लो फ्रीक्वेंसी में जाते हो और वो बस लैच ऑन करता है, बट वो कैसा फील होता है, एंड आप ये भी मैंने देखा है कि आप वो कंटिन्यू भी कर सकते हो टू हैंग ऑन टू इट, और बट as soon as I connect to my being, I understand that it's so easy to just relate to everybody because being is so similar. From that point I feel क्या गिला क्या शिकवा, मतलब कुछ है ही नहीं, so that being and that feeling of like, oh, this is true, this is this feels like me, this feels so original, the being part. So I think that helps me, and I think frequency slowly reduces. I can't say that that doesn't latch on, but I am more aware and I understand, okay, you stay, and whenever you want you go, like I know better. So that works for me.
It loses hold over you. That's what you want to say, that it's not like you are not now following the dictate, although the subtle vibration may still exist.
Yes,
but you are not following the dictate.
absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Anyone else on this?
Monica, for me, the inner voice is the first response to the situation, and then rushes in the emotions and the
the intellect with all its reasons. So if you cannot find a reason for that first initial response, I think that would be the true inner voice speaking, because it doesn't need any justification. Why you need to do this? You don't need any reason in the world to do what the inner voice is telling you to. And it's one fleeting thought, one fleeting suggestion, and then everything comes and overpowers. If you can just stick with that suggestion, that is what works.
Beautiful. So you are sharing that inner voice is the first response to something that is happening. And because it is so fleeting, like it happens in milliseconds or maybe even faster, before you can actually understand it or be with it, the clamor of the ego, which is the emotions or the tendencies, playing their part, that comes and it gets kind of masked in that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it may what I also recollect from what you are sharing, all of you, that for me to, if I am willing, first of all, I need this willingness now to live a beautiful life, a life lived in the guidance of inner life. Now if I am willing, then the first thing that has to be done, as I think Shweta was also sharing, that coming back home to yourself, in gathering of consciousness. Usually our threads of consciousness are all scattered everywhere, एक relative के घर में छोड़ दिया, एक कहीं इधर उधर छोड़ दिया, it's like scattered everywhere. So I think important thing, if I now want to listen to the guidance of the inner voice, which is very faint, can be masked very easily by intellect or emotions or patterns, and now I am willing, so I will be actually becoming more quieter in my being, more content in my being as I am. Yeah, more happy and being okay with myself, because when I am not really desiring too much, and I'm okay with this inner sense of being, I think then I'm more sensitive as a person to listening to this inner voice. But if I am still very, very aggressive and want to have the things all my way, my way, not your way, all that goes on with us, as adults, then, strange, then it's difficult. So quietness or peace, I would say, then it becomes almost essential. Mother had shared many things about calling peace. I think one of the things that we loved in Sikshantar also, Shweta is here, when they call peace in the body, and we still do it at home also, calling the peace in the mind, in the body, in the heart, in emotions, so that you can be settled enough to listen to this faint guidance. Yeah, so Birenji, I think that would be where it would go, where you were talking about the noise and then wanting to know what the inner. Yeah.
Just to relate to this, I don't recollect the circumstances of the first voice, but the second one was very recent. Like I told you, it was very tranquil. Maybe, the tranquility around me and within me allowed me to listen to it. At other times, it may not have been the case. That's what I can relate now. Like I mentioned, there was nobody else. We went at a very quiet time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think rightly how Shweta said, the more we start connecting to ourselves, coming back home, when we do that, with time, it might take a few months for some people, it might take a few years for some people, but with time you realize then that the noises go down, because the moment you are within yourself, your inner voice will start speaking more to you than and the noises will fade. So yeah, I feel that's the good way to reduce the voices. Go within. The more you go within, the more the noises will reduce.
Absolutely. It's almost like the picture, here, the picture, the vision that I see here is almost like, imagine an ocean is there. And on the surface, waves are always there, always, always, always there. Even if very little wind is blowing, waves are always there. And many, many disturbances, kachada here and there, things can also be there. But if you stay always on the surface, always some or the other ripple is going to be there. But if in the middle of all that ripple, you go deep into the depth of the ocean, you see that the calm is present right there. You don't have to, get out of the ocean and understand it. You can just delve deep into the ocean, which we were talking about, coming back home, being in touch with ourselves, checking within, and mother actually, Shweta, this is an image, I believe, if I'm not wrong, from mother's prayers and meditations, where in one of the meditations, she shares that when the being is disturbed, it is almost like a surface movement, ripple. And if I truly want peace and want to listen to the inner voice, then all that I have to go is plunge into thee. This is what she says. I plunge into thee, and there I find serenity, calm, and peace. And then the inner voice shines out. Then it's not hard to listen to that inner voice. But a slowness is required, a willingness is required. All that is required is a willingness. Yeah.
So beautiful. So
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So okay, so let us go through what Deepti had shared. Maybe something comes up at this moment or maybe later. So Deepti shared that I feel sometimes we have to take decisions based on emotions and at times based on intellect. Okay. One should not cloud the other, and at times when in dilemma, especially for big and major decisions that affect our life and others, then the inner voice or gut comes to our help to take the right call. Okay, I think Deepti, you have a point here. You are saying that there may be some urgent, big decisions that usually we call big decisions. I don't know which decision exactly you're referring to. Maybe you can share a few examples. There we can wait for the inner voice, but otherwise I'm happy using the intellect at times and emotions at times, which we do, which is a fact actually what you have shared. It is actually a fact. We do that. We take decisions based on emotions. At times we may use our intellect if we are lucky. Many a times people who are very, very emotional, they cannot use much of reason, so they happen to do again and again things based on emotional content. Yeah. And it makes us suffer. They are not right decisions, we get to know, and people who are run mostly by intellect, they are lucky, I would say. They have something at least which can regulate the emotions. But again, it's a very catch-22 situation, because although it can be a very well balanced life, but you cannot be sure that the inner guidance is followed throughout. Why? Because the reason get manipulated by emotions and one does not even get to know. That is the beauty here. So that's where the safety, if we want safety, if we want to now, after stumbling a lot, have enough of experiences, if we want to now listen to completely the voice of the psychic or the inner guidance, it is my call. Now, so-called little actions that you are saying, that there are some little actions, not very major, and then there are big and major actions. I would say there is a possibility which is called total surrender, complete surrender. That is what we call total surrender to the divine. What is total surrender? That each movement of your life is in the light of the psychic. How beautiful would it be? We can just imagine sitting here, So the mind is not unruly. The emotions are not wanting anything but the divine. And actions are also according to the divine will. Let thy will be done and not mine. What we say is, let thy will be done, but in my way. This is what we find ourselves saying कि करना वही जो तुझे अच्छा लगता है, but थोड़ा मुझे भी देख लेना, मेरे emotions को भी थोड़ा support कर देना है जो भी है. So I think what you have shared, I think it's beautiful that there is a possibility that each and every movement of the being, each grain of your being is now aligned with the divine will. That is our highest of possibility. That's why they say that it is not work of a one lifetime or few years, but lifetimes and lifetimes may be required, so that each grain of being is completely aligned. Each cell, each physical cell is also completely aligned with the inner light. So it's a long work, I would say, that we have at hand, and it's a beautiful work. Okay, so
Very true. Very true. Thank you for the perspective, actually. It is very difficult to be aligned at that level, I think, where all our intellects and emotions and energies and everything is in totally sync. Because, like, normal human beings, many a times we do react emotionally, that is the first thing that happens. And like you said, few times through intellect. And, really the inner voice to hear it, getting a perspective from others also, it was very interesting, because it takes a bit of patience and time and everything to really reach that stage, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Bilkul, bilkul. And Deepti, that even if we have not really gotten to a far place that each and every movement is aligned, each step towards alignment gives us joy. This is the beauty.
True, very true. Yes, it is a lot of food for thought, actually.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you for
thank
sharing.
you.
So let me take up something which Anusha has shared here. Anusha shares, I look for a bigger purpose and I am wanting a good social life too. But my emotions are so disturbing because I am just so unlucky in the people friends department. High five, Anusha. In every group that I had been part of, or whoever close friends I had have treated me so bad that I keep trying to connect but no response. That makes me feel that I am not enough. How do I cope up? In case it's okay to take this question. Absolutely, we will take this question. It's a very important question, and it's not only your question, Anusha. I think most of us can resonate with this. See, so let us go back to our beginning. The beginning was, this is the journey of life. I am the driver. The vehicle is all the life happenings, people coming, going from my life, relationships coming, going from my life, workplace scenarios coming, going from my life. Yeah. So all of that is the kind of vehicle. It takes me towards my destination. Now, what is the destination? I should know, because I am the driver. So I should at least know where do I want to go. The destination is by doing everything. Now you are saying that I want a good social life. If I ask you, okay, Anusha, why do you want a good social life? You would say, it will make me feel happy. Yeah. So ultimately, all we are looking for is an inner contentment, joy, and happiness and progress. Yeah. I want to contribute in some way or the other. I want to belong to this community because it makes me feel worthy and happy and contented. Yeah. So that is your destination. Okay. Now we have to understand that the driver is you. You will be making choices. The vehicle will keep on changing. So you are saying that right now my social life is not very good. Yeah. So that is the vehicle. You don't have to stop there. Why do we stop there? Because we think that is the destination. Having a good social life is the all that I want. That is not your destination. Ask yourself, what do I want from having a good social life? What will it bring me? What is the promise that it gives me? You will find that the promise that it gives you is happiness and contentment. It will make you feel worthy. Yeah. So what is your destination? The destination is, I want to feel worthy, that I am something, there is, a purpose to my existence, and I'm valued, and I'm a part of this community. Yeah. I feel content and happy. Yeah, so this is your destination. ठीक है, तो अगर अभी कोई एक ऐसी situation है where the outer situations are not in my control, things happen, you know, all of us can guarantee you, you know, when many adults here, they can tell you that things will happen in life. We don't know why they will happen, but they will happen. So the vehicle will keep on changing. कल तक मेरे पास कार थी, today I have to walk. What can be done? Nothing. I can just walk. Now I have a broken leg. Okay, what can be done? I have one leg. Walk. Why am I walking? Because the destination is clear. And I know that I have the power. I am the driver. So if the driver knows the destination, if the driver knows that I have to progress and it is for joy that I live in this life, no matter what the situation, I will turn everything into joy. If the driver knows, then the power is totally into driver's hands. This is what making right choices means. Okay, so today I have one leg. Yesterday I had a car, you know, maybe there were 10 people walking with me. Now there is no one. So this all will keep on changing. This is fluctuating. That is what we say. Life is ever changing. You know, it's a moving river. People will come, people will go. You know, all that will happen. You will have not much control over the happenings. Okay? Right? So this is what you shared, that socially I'm not keeping very well at the moment. It is not your destination. Tell yourself. Okay? It is just the vehicle that you have. You are the driver. What is your destination? Progress, joy, contentment. Now, I am sure if you reflect upon it in your silences later after the session, you would see that you can make something beautiful out of the present situations. कैसा आपने देखे होंगे, you know, people who have lost their both legs, making art, beautiful art, maybe running marathons on artificial legs. How is that possible? They would have just been crying on their bed, you know, all the time that, oh my God, I cannot just live anymore. And I'm sure it happens, you know, people go through the fear, go through the anxiety, but then they come up. This is what they call as the rise of the spirit. You know, that the spirit is almost an undying, this vigor in us, you know, that, okay, ye hua hai bimari, koi baat nahi, dekh lenge. You know, abhi kya hai mere paas? What right now I have with which I can make life beautiful. This is the power that you have as the driver of your life. Accepting the situations, whatever the situations are, and making right choices, listening to your inner guidance, no matter what right now is going on. Right? And slowly, when you make steps, baby steps, you know, in this any direction that you feel is worthy, you see that you will feel enough. Even when people are not there with you, you will feel enough. You will say, okay, I am my bestest friend. I am not going to leave my side. You know, mother says this actually. Mother says that when something comes from your inner being and you tell yourself, I am going to be there and I am here, you know, don't worry, I am here. When you tell yourself, you get wedded to yourself, then dheere dheere, you know, she says that this is gulf, the inner being and the outer being. That there is a gulf between the inner and the outer being. Now slowly she says that the inner and outer become one. Once you have said that I am here for you and I'm not leaving you, because people will come and go, people will, no matter how bestest of friends you may get, I can tell you from my own experiences, even bestest of friends would not stay in your very, very difficult moments. It happens, you know, people have their own lives to deal with. You cannot always hanker about people and relationships, you know, that you make me feel enough. Yeah. So be your bestest colleague, bestest friend, never leave your side, and see how things change slowly. You know, that you reclaim your power back that you have given to other people in trying to make you feel enough. you are enough right now as you are. Just don't leave your side. Don't leave your side. You know, on all that you shared, that group and social media, social, social life, family, friends, it is a vehicle. It will keep on changing. We don't have much uh, control over there. We don't have much control. Relationships break, things change, people change. How can you force someone to love you? Here, Dr. Ramesh Bijlani also shares that, okay, what is in your hand? If there is a relationship, what is in your hand? Give love. Giving love is in my hands. Asking the other person to give love back, completely not in my hands. Do not poke your nose there, right? So what you can do is give love in a relationship. Because why am I giving love? Because it gives me joy. It gives me joy to offer myself. This joy is in your hands. But the joy of receiving, to ask the other person, love me back, we'll fall on our nose again and again if we do that. All of us have done that. We learn through our failures, but we realize that that's not going to work. Yeah. So I hope some or the other point is addressed. And if you later on, in your reflections or silence, you think about it, maybe something more will emerge. Yeah. So thank you for sharing this. Anything at this point, anyone? Okay. Yes. Yes, Shweta, please.
Yeah, I just remembered Byron Katie's quote, it's your loved one's job to keep pulling your strings, and it's your job to keep loving them unconditionally. So I just remembered that.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Makes us more resilient to offer our, love in any which way. Yeah. Mother, in one of the writings, there was this little booklet I was reading, and their mother talks about helping humanity. It's a beautiful booklet, and has been revelatory for me. So their mother says that it is actually, you feel that if you keep on offering your love to people who actually don't want your love, don't do that. Don't do that. So one can be just loving, you can be a loving presence. You are there, you are just like a loving presence, just like a flower is there. But wanting in your ways to give love to people, that mother says is not charity. She says कि उससे बच के रहना चाहिए. It's actually, it can do harm to people, because they don't want love at this moment, and the kind in which you want to do the charity, they don't want it. They're not happy to receive. So why are you doing this torture on them, giving your love again and again, while it feels like burden to them? Yeah. So yeah. Okay, so anything else at this moment? Anyone? Okay, so let us take,
Sorry, I feel that it is not only torture on them, but it is also kind of a torture on yourself, because you know that you're giving love, it is not appreciated, it is not accepted. You feel hurt in spite of the fact that, I'm loving so much, but I'm still, not accepted, not loved, or, it hurts. So I think, yeah, I mean,
absolutely,
it does
hurts.
a lot of harm to yourself also.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's good that hurt comes, because it is just a signal that you are just overdoing it. Take your steps back.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that is true. But I'm coming from the point of being love.
Yeah, being
So
love.
that
Yeah,
is,
absolutely.
that is different.
Absolutely. I think that would resonate with when, mother shares, be like a flower. Be like a flower. So flower is effortlessly itself. Just its presence is enough. Loving presence is enough. Absolutely. I think that is where this flowering is taking us, the flowering of the psychic being, the blossoming of the psychic being, so that you don't have to love people, you just are love. So that is beautiful. Yes. So let us take Birenji's question here. How does one reconcile this with the day-to-day requirements of modern life, such as the need to earn and save money, take care of the family, educate children? Many a times the requirements of these may not allow us to always live one's life as per the guidance of inner voice. Birenji, I would like to disagree here, because this is our Kurukshetra, this is our Karyakshetra, this is our field of action. How can it be that happenings of my life are not letting me uh, hear my inner voice? How is that possible? Please share about it. How does that become possible? Because see, if I want to listen to inner voice, I need a place of experimentation. Okay. Now, the life that we live, the family, the workplace, the issues that we have, all the issues, including everything that you have shared, that is my workplace, that is my experiment. Because where else will I experiment the inner voice if not in my action? Yeah. So, why would it appear contradictory to you? If you can.
Yeah, so I am just giving it in the context of our, for example, our own careers. We stuck with jobs that were high paying but not satisfactory. For example, I afraid to make a change to go to a lower paying but more satisfying job, one that would give us more peace of mind. I just give this another example. Though this inner voice told that your purpose in life is to chant God's name, if I start doing it and stop exploring other options to save money and earn money, right? So it's difficult to reconcile all these things. So maybe one answer is to at some point say, okay, I've done enough, and move in the direction you want to go. That's one possible thing, but many times you don't have the freedom to choose that. That's what I was trying to tell.
Badhiya, bahut badhiya. I think it's good that you bring it up here. So you are saying that according to this dictate that you got, if you are chanting God's name, you should just be in the Dhyan Mudra and chanting God's name and not engaged in activities. I can guarantee you that that is not what it said. I don't know how I am so sure, but I am sure. If you allow me to share, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So what it means, I will share one example from Kabir Ji's, or maybe I think Kabir Ji's only. Yeah. So he's in one of the bhajans, he shares that how we have to live this life. जो नटड़िया चढ़े बरत पे तो नटड़ो ढोल बजावे, हाले डोले बात बनावे, सुरत बरत पे लागे रे. So he says, I'll just translate it. He says that just like there are two poles and there is a rope, and on the rope this lady is walking on the line, and niche jo nat his husband, her husband is making the dhol, beating the dhol, and she's walking on the rope. And what is she doing? Parallelly, she's dancing, she's making movements, and her all the awareness, like parallel awareness, mother also talks about parallel awareness, her parallel awareness is on the rope. The moment she does not she lets go of the awareness of the rope, she slips, and that is what we call as slipping from the guidance of the inner voice. We fall on our nose, we get hurt, we get suffering. What does suffering tell us? That it was not in alignment, in parallel with the divine will. It did not go in accordance to the divine will. So what do I get as a signal? Lal batti kya hai? Hurt. What will happen if hurt was not there? I will keep on doing all the things that I should not be doing, and I'll just totally stray away from my swadharma or swabhav. Yeah. So this is what I feel that guidance would tell you, that yes, you have to chant Shiva. And what does Shiva mean to you? He has a Trishul. What does the Trishul do? It kills all the three gunas. Sat, Tamas and Raj, all the three he kills. He goes beyond the gunas. So, okay, as a healthy ego, you develop to the Sattvic ego. That is also in the bounds of the gunas. First is the tamasic ego, The Rajasic ego, which consumes, I am incomplete and I want to fulfill myself through something. Okay, so let me just share a bit light on this. Tamasic ego is who does not even want to admit that I have an incompletion or lack in my life, because I don't want to make any effort. Tamasic ego. There is no incompletion in my life. I don't feel anything amiss. I'm okay. Tamasic ego. Yeah. No need to progress. Nothing is needed. Rajasic ego. I know that there is something incomplete in me. And how would I fulfill it? By consuming beer, drugs, substances, relationships, society, family. I will consume them so that I feel complete. Rajasic ego, a bit better than the Tamasic ego, but at least because it has at least started to move. So it's considered better. Now comes the Sattvic ego, which is a very receptive ego. Okay, so it is understanding that I am incomplete. There is a lack in me. How do I fulfill that lack? What is the best way to go about it? So it's a very receptive ego. It's a very supple ego. Yeah, it wants to learn. It has a guru, listens to the master, listen to the words of gurus, and then what is Shiva saying? Shiva says, go beyond that, surrender the ego. So Sattvic ego is a healthy kind of a ego, but it's still in the bound of the gunas. So he says, go beyond it. Give yourself, offer your complete being to the divine. And that is how, in Gita also, that is how Shri Krishna would say to Arjun, this is how you do the works in this life. You give yourself to me, you offer your complete being to me, and this is how you do the works in life. So I believe, Birenji, again, pardon me if I am taken into a direction which maybe does not resonate, but I believe that this is what that inner call would say.
Yeah, it's right. So now I understood it actually. I never thought of it in this way, but now what you just said gave a new perspective. I think this is what it was trying to tell, that drop your ego and just surrender. I think that was a larger message that was given there.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing it out loud. Yeah. And then I've often reflected on the poison in Shiva's throat, that I think Shweta was sharing, that something or the other may still remain. It may not have complete grip over you, but some or the other ripple will remain. Hold it in the throat. Don't let the poison your being. Hold it here. He's Neelkant. So I don't know, this is my own interpretation that I'd give it, that there may be things which are unpleasant, which you don't completely resonate with, and unresolved issues. Hold it here, and don't let it poison your being. Stay with the divine, stay with the Lord, and offer your work to the divine. Do it only for the Lord and not to satisfy the greed or the desire of the incompletion within. So, yeah.
Sure, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing it. Yeah. Okay, so where are we? Okay, so I think we covered until this point that I'll just close it in 5-6 minutes, that there is this voice which is there, and then there is also noise, which we all shared. Birenji shared that there is noise and how to actually understand it, and we then talked about ways in which we can actually quieten the being, call peace in the being, and then listen to what actually feels right and follow it. It requires a lot of sensitivity, first of all, in ourselves, a kind of a slow kind of a life, not very fast paced life where we are just running one goal after the other, yeah. But and slowly it becomes effortless. In the beginning you need effort, and slowly it becomes effortless. And slowly what happens is, when you are not feeling the inner voice, when you are not actually buying the guidance of the inner voice, you cannot actually manage it. You immediately you sense it and you correct it immediately. Yeah, so slowly that becomes effortless. Abhi kya hai? Abhi the state is that once in a while the inner voice is there. Slowly, gradually on the path, what happens that the inner voice only rules, and once in a while when things go here and there, I immediately get to know, okay, this was wrong, and here, that's why I was feeling uneasy throughout the day. Yeah, so this is how the alignment would happen. So I almost fall in love with these words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo again and again whenever I go over it, because they have so much of potential to make the life beautiful. That's why Sri Aurobindo has written the life divine. Otherwise it's not possible to talk about the life divine if you don't really take these little baby steps towards our own inner being. Yeah. So I think we can also end here. I'll just share this photo with picture which I already have shared uh, in the document also, but let me share it right now before we close. So this is what he gives, Dr. Ramesh Bijlani. He says that this is at the center is the psychic being, the soul, the inner voice, and the intellect, the emotions, and the body have to be a slave slowly, a servant to the command of the psychic being, and not in their own accord that the body is her own king, emotions are their own king, and intellect is its own king. Not like that. That's why we suffer, and suffering is good that it happens, because it tells me that something is not right. And this is how it has to be aligned. Everything has to be aligned in a proper guidance, listening to the guidance of the psychic being. Yes, thank you, Deepthi, for attending it. And I would add you to the group. If you are interested, you can join us every Sunday.
Sure, sure. Please do add me. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So anything else? Any last comments? Anything? Great. So Mohanji, if you are interested, then I can also add you to the Sunday group. Every Sunday we will meet. Usually at 3 o'clock we will meet. Today we met at 8 o'clock. So,
Yes, madam. You add me also.
okay, fine. I will add you. Yeah, great. Great. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for taking out the time and interest and inclination towards these sessions. And thank you for sharing all your thoughts and reflections. Thanks.
Thank you so much for this beautiful session.
Thank you.
Rajat. Thank
Bhumika,
you.
thank you. It was so beautiful.